Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show.
So I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So it's about
Wait, Daniel, lower your screen a little. Lower the screen a little.
like that.
Yeah, exactly. You want your head towards the top part of the screen. So we'll start now. That's fine. Okay.
See how it goes. Just gotta find some.
Okay, now that's fine. That's perfect right there. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, is that okay?
Yep. Good.
Is
Good.
it
Okay.
crooked now?
Well, still move closer to the camera then.
Good.
Perfect. Right there. Perfect. Okay. Remember, look at the dot. Don't look at me. Look at the dot.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. All right. So Daniel, tell us, where are you located?
So I'm up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It's about 400 miles north of the Montana border.
Wow. I know it's beautiful up there, but it's also cold.
It's very, very beautiful, very cold. Yesterday we had probably minus 21 with the wind chill factor, and I was out basically all day in the cold,
Wow.
in the freezing cold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get into how and why you eat the way you eat, living up there where you're at. But before we do that, tell everybody a little bit about your health. When you were growing up, were you healthy? Did you eat healthy? How were you when you were growing up?
Well, I grew up with a standard American diet, and then that was all throughout the 80s and 90s. So probably the worst of the junk food craze. I think in the 80s and 90s, there was probably more junk food available, and people hadn't quite got onto the health kick yet. So basically, eating a lot of milk, drinking a lot of milk, eating a lot of breakfast cereal, lots of gluten, lots of white bread.
Sure.
Your typical meat and potatoes kind of dishes that my family would enjoy.
So,
Um,
and
yeah,
how
a
old are
lot
you
of.
now?
I'm 43 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how was
So
your health? How was your health? Have you ever been diagnosed with any illnesses?
no, not really. I mean, before I became vegan, I don't think I really realized how good it feels to be vegan. So once I made the jump over to vegan, I noticed a big difference in how I felt. But that was just kind of something that went along with becoming vegan, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure. How long have you been on a vegan diet now?
Vegan for over 20 years. So it's been raw probably 18 or 19 years.
Wow.
And it feels like I've been vegan for about 4 years before I actually found out about raw food.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So first, let's talk about you were eating a standard American diet. You're a young man in your 20s, and you decided to go vegan. What made you decide to go on a vegan diet?
I've always loved nature. I've always loved animals. I've always felt the best when I'm in nature. And, even when I was a kid, my dad would take me fishing. I noticed my dad would never conk the fish out. I noticed he couldn't kill a fish. Even though he eats meat, he still wouldn't whack the fish between the eyes, catch and release kind of thing. And eventually I ran into a group of friends who were all vegan. And yeah, just really got along with these people. And I noticed that they were all in really good health. And they were also really, really good chefs. They were making amazing food, especially for our age group. I was just basically approaching my early 20s when I met these people. And, there's a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids that are 5-star vegan chefs, making amazing food. So I'd go out and eat with them once in a while. Usually on Fridays, we'd all go to, one of the local Buddhist vegan restaurants in town, and we'd all sit and eat vegan food. Now, when I ate with them, and I especially noticed it my first time going to dinner with them and having a vegan meal, I just lit up and I was glowing. just glowing with positive energy and love. And it was a really strange feeling. I'd actually never felt that feeling before. I could maybe compare it to, growing up, say you do a good deed, say you helped an old lady cross the street, or say you gave, you know, someone that was less fortunate, like your lunch or whatever, right? You get that good feeling inside. So I got that good feeling inside when I ate my first vegan meal with my friends, really. And it was more than just that good feeling, because it was also associated with a feeling of health. I could definitely tell it was not just, you know, in my mind or, in my soul. It was actually working with my body too. So weeks and months went by. Um, I'd sometimes try and recreate that good feeling by making, a somewhat healthy dish. I wasn't fully committed to going vegan at that point. And whenever I tried to make my own meal that wasn't completely vegan, I wouldn't get that feeling. I wouldn't get that feeling of well-being. And yeah, it just wasn't the same. So eventually I basically just went up to my friends and I said, here's the deal. I really, really like what you guys are doing. I feel amazing when I'm with you guys. I feel amazing when I eat the way you guys do. But there's one problem, and that's that I can't cook. I didn't know how to cook. I was a terrible cook. I was mostly just eating, junk food and standard American diet type stuff up until that point. And they basically took me under their wing and they said, you know what, Dan, like, don't worry about it. We're going to teach you how to do this. They were all such good chefs too, amazing, especially for their age, in their
Well,
all in their teens and early 20s,
well,
all vegan for all the right reasons, mostly compassion based, a little bit health, but more the political side of health. And yeah, they're just amazing people, and they taught me how to cook. They showed me how to do everything really well. And we were, as a group, we were very supportive of each other, and we were really, really into just making vegan food as good as we could possibly make it. Being influenced by a lot of the Buddhist vegan restaurants that we all went to. So most of my friends were really good at making, Vietnamese, Chinese style vegan food, or Indian. We even got into African cuisine, using some of the Ethiopian spices and things like that. So we were always just making amazing food and really having a good time. We'd basically, hang out a couple times a week, have these big parties, big dinner parties with 15, 20 people, just hanging out in the kitchen, listening to music, doing good things, and watching movies and making
well,
really good food.
when you got
So
when you got started, how was your health at that point when you first started? I know you were a young man, but were you overweight? Were you in shape? How was your health when you first started going to a vegan diet?
it wasn't awesome. I'll be honest, and I didn't even really notice it. I didn't really put two and two together. I just thought that that's how people feel. And yeah, I wasn't in awesome shape. I was heavily fatigued. My acne was terrible. I actually had asthma back then. I don't use a Ventolin inhaler now. I have no symptoms of asthma whatsoever since giving up the dairy and whatever else, right? Um, my digestion wasn't great. And I didn't really realize that until I started eating the vegan meals and actually felt what good digestion feels like. So yeah, not in very good health, but almost not noticing it until I had become vegan and actually made that jump.
And how much meat did you eat prior to that when you were eating and meat and animal products? How much were you eating at that time?
Not that much. I've never really loved meat. It's always been hard for me to choke back a steak. If I was going to eat beef, it would be in, hamburger form with mustard, ketchup, and onion rings and things like that. If I was going to eat, or else I'd liked it in tacos. That was one way my mom could get me to eat meat as a kid. She'd put it in tacos or, a spaghetti sauce, those kinds of things that I would eat. But as for just chicken, on its own, I dreaded chicken night. I couldn't handle it. It's greasy, it's slimy,
Yeah.
there's cords and things flipping around and jiggling around. I just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Um, but so I didn't eat a lot of meat. I think in the few months leading up to me making the decision to become vegan, I think I tried some like free range beef or some elk or deer meat or something like that, just to kind of ease me into it. And probably small amounts. I think what I was heavy in was some of the dairy products and heavy on the gluten. So I think, that might have been doing most of the damage to begin with,
Okay.
right?
So when you went vegan, you started to feel a little bit better, and you were vegan for about 3 or 4 years. And what made you
Mhm.
decide to go on a raw food diet? And were your friends that were vegan at the time, were any of them on raw, or did you just say, "Okay, guys, thanks for teaching me. Now I'm gonna go do this myself"?
Well, none of us were really raw yet. So, the first time I had ever found out about raw food was through my friend Eliane. And we were all sitting around talking one day. I think we were making a meal, listening to music. And she said, "Well, there's people who eat all raw food." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean all raw food? I mean, you mean like eating a carrot or eating an apple? Because I do that, I do that sometimes." And she said, "No, no, like people are eating all raw, all their food raw and making amazing dishes out of it in new and creative ways." And she said that the reason for this is because it can really, really help with certain ailments and certain things, certain diseases. And I got what she was saying right then and there. I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it." So it's a health thing. It's kind of an upgrade. Um, but a few months went by. I didn't really think of what she said. It just kind of went in one ear and out the other. And then it wasn't until I was out in Vancouver, and I was actually my wisdom teeth were cutting in. That's actually how young I was. But my wisdom teeth were cutting through, and they were getting infected. So anything with sugar in it was actually really quite painful. So I couldn't have any sugar, or the pain would start coming on. And I phoned one of my friends and I said, "I'm having trouble with sugar. Anything with sugar in it's, really hurting my teeth. Um, where can I go eat?" And he said, "Oh, okay. Well, I was at this cafe called the Rooted Cafe." So this was in a little grocery store called Eternal Abundance that's still there. They still serve some raw foods too. But he sent me to Eternal Abundance to go to Rooted Cafe because they don't use any sugar. They just use dates and or apple juice or something like pears to sweeten their cookies. So he's like, "Yeah, go there. Your teeth won't bug you at all." So my wisdom teeth were cutting in, and it was so bad. The infection was getting so bad that it was swollen. It was insanely painful. I could feel the pain pulse with every heartbeat. So it was kind of serious. And I was in a city just visiting. I wasn't really in my home. So the last thing I wanted was to have an abscessed wisdom tooth, in the middle of my visit. So I walk into Rooted Cafe and I ordered a smoothie, a piece of raw pizza, a big salad, and a little breakfast cookie. And so I start eating this meal and talking to the chef there and talking to some other people at the cafe, started up some good conversation. And I was probably a quarter of the way done my meal, probably 10 minutes into eating my meal. I was eating quite slowly because I was really enjoying the conversation and having a good time. But I noticed the pain, like the insane searing throbbing pain in my wisdom tooth had just completely subsided. And right then and there, I realized that my immune system had just been boosted like big time in those 15 minutes that I'd been sitting there talking to everybody. So right away, I put two and two together. I was like, okay, so Eliane was right. You know, this is extremely good for health problems and extremely good for the immune system. So I was just having the best day ever at that point. And, I kind of remembered my first couple vegan meals and that glowing feeling and that positive rush of energy you get when you consume a vegan meal, especially when you first go vegan, because everything's still new and exciting at that point. But I had felt that same feeling, but it was like times 10. And so the next morning, I wake up and look in the mirror, and my eyes were just glowing. That bright kind of
Yep.
shine that raw
Yep.
vegans get. My friend's like, oh, yeah, that's the raw vegan eye shine glow or whatever. I was like, wow, is that ever amazing? I just kept staring in the mirror and like looking at the light come out of my eyeballs and just the clarity in my eyes. And then I noticed how good it was on my digestion. My intestinal tract felt perfect. I was just like, wow. And some of my other friends that were at the cafe that I had met were like, oh, yeah, we're experiencing the same thing. This is amazing. And we were all high fiving each other. And it was great. So I ate there for a week consecutively because I was like, well, it's fixing my wisdom teeth. I want that. I want to keep that going. And there was a few other raw cafes on that street. So I ate mostly at the one raw cafe, but I was kind of going around to some other cafes and trying out what they had too. So it was amazing. It was basically a raw vegan paradise, and I just kind of stumbled into it after 4 years of being vegan. And it was just a really amazing week. I'll never forget that week. I'll never forget that experience. And the chef there, he was an awesome guy. His name's Aaron Ash. He actually had a restaurant called Gorilla Food in
Yes.
Vancouver.
Yes. I met him and I've been to Gorilla Foods.
Oh, isn't Aaron awesome? So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Very
hanging
cool.
out with Aaron, eating raw food. He's such a laid back, kind, awesome person. He had
Yes.
this other guy, Jamie, working there. This Rastafarian guy, and he was really cool too. But yeah, so I was in really good company, just enjoying raw food. Um, by that point, I think a couple of my other friends from Calgary had just showed up in Vancouver, and we were all eating at this place together. And so it was basically my core group of vegan friends, that I was all out there with, and we were just blown away and in love with this new raw food thing. Now we knew that it takes a bit of practice to become raw. So we knew that we weren't just going to be, raw vegan 5-star chefs right off the bat. But what we kind of decided as a group was let's just do one night a week. And let's get together on like our Friday night or whatever and learn a new raw recipe. One of us will go research one, find one that we like, find interesting, and that we'll all just hang out and do one raw recipe together. And then I think a couple months went by, and you know each time, like basically every month that went by, that's 4 new raw recipes that we had learned. And we weren't really strict with ourselves right away. We were like, hey, yeah, we still eat some cooked vegan food, a little bit of vegan junk food, still going to the Chinese food place or whatever, Buddha's Veggie or whatever other one we'd go to. And we were just saying, let's just keep adding more raw foods to our lifestyle bit by bit. But 6 months went by, and we had a pretty good repertoire of raw vegan dishes under our belt. And then we all started kind of inventing our own dishes. And we were already so creative and so into making the vegan food to begin with that it was kind of a new challenge for us. And I think there's about 5 or 6 of us that were kind of really into the raw food thing at least. And then we had all of our other vegan friends. And
So
then I started having my own potlucks, and even more people got involved.
nice.
Yeah.
So after doing it all these years, now I know it's cold where you live. What are some
Oh, yeah.
tips or suggestions you have for people uh, that are interested in doing a raw diet? How to do it and be successful and study at doing it all these times? Since you're 100% raw vegan, right? For all these years,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah. I mean,
So what?
occasionally I'll do a bit of maple, like once every couple of years. But I mean, other than that, I'm 100% raw. I'll go and, consider myself 100%.
Yeah. So give us an example of what some tips are for people that are thinking of going raw.
Start the way I started if you can, unless you have some sort of underlying health issue that makes it a necessity to go raw as soon as possible. But I started off bit by bit, pick one recipe a week, get your friends over, get your friends involved. That really, really helps. And then as for being raw in the winter time, I think a lot of it has to do with attitude, to be honest. It's our attitude towards life and our attitude towards winter. I mean, most people do not have a good relationship with winter. And when I was young, even before I became vegan, I told myself, I was going to teach myself to love winter, and I did. So it's got a lot to do with my attitude towards winter. Um, Another big thing is dressing warm. Dressing warm is so important. I think a lot of people whether they're on a vegan diet or standard American diet, eating burgers, steak, whatever, I think a lot of people don't dress properly for the cold. Like myself, I wear a thick -40 jacket. I wear long johns. I've got my gloves on all the time. I've got something covering my face, and I just love it.
And you got your
And I'm
beard too.
the beard definitely keeps you warm, and that's what these things are designed for, is to keep us warm. And it's funny because the one time I did shave, that's one thing I noticed. I was freezing. I was like, oh, that draft on my face, I can't handle it. But yeah, so dressing warm, really important. If you are in a cold climate, it helps to take up a winter activity, a winter sport, whether it's ice hockey or skiing. I do snowboarding. I have a hybrid snowboard, so it's a smaller snowboard for flipping around under your feet. And I go up to some of our bigger resorts here and ride some of the biggest slopes in North America on
Very
my.
cool. Very cool. So you keep very active.
I'm
Very
always
cool.
always doing. Yeah, I'm basically on the hill 4 days out of the week for probably about 8 hours a day, and that's with a busy work schedule. If I can, I'll opt to take the evening shifts so I can spend the earlier part of the day on the ski hill. I'll be up there for between 4 and 8 hours a day, but that's just giving her, like, that's you know getting my heart rate going, hiking.
So tell us what's your daily diet like?
So it's mostly fruit, to be honest. And
Oh,
it
give
might
us
be.
an example. What time do you get up? What time do you go to sleep? How much do you tell us? What time do you usually go to sleep at night?
I try to be in bed by 11. I really do try it. Sometimes my sleep schedule gets messed with or flipped around a bit, but I really do try to be in bed by 11. And
Okay.
usually waking up around 7 if I
Okay.
can. Yeah, especially if I'm on the ski hill. If I didn't get a pass this year, I'm probably going to pick up a spring riding pass, but I've just been focusing on all my recipes so much. But
Okay. So when you get up in the
yeah,
morning, when's usually your first meal?
usually within the first hour, I'll start eating some grapes. I like to start with grapes or watermelon or oranges, kiwis, something citrusy and very high in water content. And it just feels better to get my lymphatic system moving. I think it's really important, even if you are raw vegan or no matter what diet you're on, I think it's really important to get your lymphatic system moving. I mean, exercise helps with that. Jogging and jumping helps to kind of jog the lymphs, but really, like, grapes are my favorite to wake up to in the morning. I feel so much energy off of grapes. Um, and then after that, I'll move on to something starchy like bananas. I'll, go to the skate park or, munch on bananas on my breaks at work or whatever. And bananas are really nice and filling and starchy. Lately, I've been picking up durians for $9 each at the superstore, our
Wow.
local
Wow.
big box grocery store. And yeah, it's amazing. I'm getting, well, smaller durians, but $9 for a durian, this far north. It's almost unheard of. So then I'll hit bananas, then durian. I find durian keeps me full for quite a while. It's probably just because it's packed with that wide spectrum of nutrients. And then I'll usually go out, get some exercise, and work up an appetite. And I'll get really, really hungry towards the later evening, especially if I've been on the ski hill or at the skate park. I burn a ton of calories and I'm hungry. My body's ready to just devour something. And then I'll usually make like a big, massive bowl of zucchini noodles, chop up a really big fresh salad, like massive salad to go on the side of it. And I've been putting guacamole onto my salads lately. That's kind of my preferred salad dressing. I'll make it in my blender. And making really, really beautiful spaghetti sauces. Sometimes like a sriracha flavored spaghetti sauce. And lately I've been doing like a smoky barbecue spaghetti sauce, kind of like a barbecue hot sauce spaghetti sauce. But then again, like really big, big portions. And I'll try and put as many different culinary fruits and vegetables as I can in there.
That's
So,
amazing.
but I mean, I do make fancier things for my account to take the picture of. I make my coconut flour breads, which are really, really simple. They're just 3 ingredients: coconut flour, psyllium husk, and chia seed gel. So I'll make really nice white bread flatbreads, and then I'll make like sloppy joes. Usually trying to not go heavy at all on the nuts. Using like mushrooms, um, or even like fresh green jackfruit, not canned, to make my sloppy joe filling. But big, thick, hearty, nice sandwiches. You know, tacos. I really love tacos. I'll make tortilla wraps and make massive burritos. And then what else? Nachos. I make my own corn chips, like Dorito style. I put a little bit of a sprinkle of seasoning on there, almost like a Dorito spice seasoning. So I'll coat the chip in lemon juice, put a bunch of that on. Sometimes I'll have a dessert, like I'll make cakes. I'll have a small piece of cake for dessert sometimes, depending on how I feel. But if I and I mean, probably 3 nights out of the week, I will feel like having something else with my zoodles and my salad. Whether it be like a sloppy Joe, or I'll make a little, well, a pretty big raw vegan burger. Um, what else do I make? Chia scrambles. I'll make like a scrambled egg type thing out of chia. So I found a way to make the chia really tacky and almost the perfect scrambled egg consistency. And I'll even sometimes do Denver sandwiches with that. So like I don't know if everybody knows what Denver sandwiches are, but it's basically like a scrambled egg type sandwich on toast with usually ketchup or barbecue sauce. I don't know. That's how my mom used to make it.
Sure.
But so that's pretty much what I'll eat. I'm not eating something super fancy and something super gourmet every single night, but I do make some fancy foods for my Instagram account just because I enjoy doing it. It's a creative outlet for me. So I just really kind of enjoy making really beautiful meals.
Cool. So,
So,
what about your family? Is your family raw? Is anyone in there? What do your family and your non-vegan friends say about the way you're eating?
well, my mother became vegan. I think my mom's been vegan. Oh God, my mom's probably been vegan 15 years now. So she really resonated with it. She was like, "Oh, is that ever cool? I'm gonna try it." So she's not 100% raw. She does like a lot of the cooked stuff, but she is vegan. My dad and my brother are still, they're pretty meat and potatoes. You know, they don't eat the healthiest diet. They really, really enjoy making their food though. Like you can tell they're really into the creative process. They're trying to make it as delicious and tasty as they can. And then my sister, she's not vegan, eats pretty meat and potatoes, pretty standard American stuff. Kind of makes fun of me a little bit for being vegan. But at the
Yeah.
same time, he notices that I'm, you know, for at 43 years old, I'm still skateboarding, still snowboarding, you know, very active. And I think that she just, at this point, she can't deny that I'm doing pretty well. And then my grandmother, she's, you know, she eats pretty standard American diet. But then again, she's 98. So up until the 50s, she was eating all out of the garden. Um, you know, and they didn't really quite have the preservatives and the junk foods that we had in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So, yeah, my grandma eats standard American. She's 98. She's super healthy. She thought it was a little strange though. She was like, "Oh, are you kidding me? You're going to give up all meat and all animal products? That couldn't be healthy." But she's noticed that I seem to be healthy, so she's kind of like, "Okay, you know, maybe you're right."
Now, do you take supplements or anything like that, or how often do you get your blood work checked?
Well, so I got my blood work done about, I think I was maybe 4 years into being vegan. And then I got my biofeedback done maybe 7, 8, 9 years into being raw vegan. Do you know what biofeedback is?
That's one of those machines, that yeah, I believe I do.
Yeah, they read every single
Yeah.
aspect of your body, and I think it runs off of frequency. And I do
But you've been
believe
raw
that,
for 18 years now, or vegan before that, so you haven't had your
yeah,
blood work checked in 18 years or so?
no, I had it. It's been a while. Like it's probably been about 15 years since I had my blood work done. And then I went and had biofeedback, which is pretty close to getting your blood work done. They'll tell you all the same types of things that getting your blood work done will indicate, right? So um, when I did get my blood work done, you know, several years into being raw vegan, the they were mind blown. They said this is the most perfect blood we've ever tested. They were just completely shocked. Well, first off, when I wrote down a list for them of what I was eating, they thought I was lying. And they're like, "No, you're lying. Nobody eats that healthy. You're sneaking some Big Macs in, or, you know, Cheetos or something." I'm like, "No, no, you know, I'm completely raw vegan." So my blood work was really, really good. The only thing is, she told me that the only thing that was kind of off about my blood work was that I didn't have enough fat in my blood. Now, I don't know if I fully agree with her at this point, because she was like, "Oh yeah, you know, you're doing well. We've never seen blood this good before, but you need to eat more fat." I don't know if that was just kind of her throwing that in there, thinking that, you know, I maybe need more fat in my diet. because from what I've, come to realize after 18, 19 years of being a raw vegan is that lower fat's kind of better. I've noticed that with myself. It's pretty easy to tell, right? You go a little too hard on the nuts and seeds and fats, and you feel a little bit more weighed down and not quite as energetic and vibrant as you do on a lower fat raw lifestyle. I mean, I still try not to obsess about it or get too neurotic, but it's true. The proof's in the pudding. But yeah, so she told me I had my blood work was awesome. I mean, I should probably get it done again because it has been a while. When I got the biofeedback done, she said, "You're doing really well. Everything seems to be normal and perfect, except you're very low in vitamin C,"
Oh,
which
really?
really surprised me. Yeah, that was really surprising because you'd expect them to say like, "Oh, protein or omegas or vitamin K or vitamin B12." All of those normal levels were normal, but she said you're low in vitamin C. And I said, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. I don't really eat a lot of citrus. I don't really go for oranges. Basically back then I pretty much eat everything and leave the citrus fruits out, which probably not the best thing to do, but I just didn't love citrus. I liked citrus, but I didn't love it, so I'd always kind of skip it. So yeah, that's pretty much my experience there with the blood work.
Yeah, and what about supplements? Do you take any supplements?
I don't, not right now. And so I hadn't really supplemented at all since I became vegan. And in through like most of my raw vegan years, I didn't supplement at all. I was just kind of getting it all through natural means. I mean, if someone offered me, be like, here's a vegan B12 tablet, I'd take it. I'd be like, all right, sweet, yeah, thanks. Um, and I went most of uh, my raw vegan experience without supplements until I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was 4 years ago. I started working at an organic health store, or an organic grocery store, and they had a staff giveaway bin, and there was always really cool things in this staff giveaway bin. A lot of the stuff was things that they were maybe thinking of carrying at the store, and then they decided, oh yeah, we're not going to carry that, throw it in the staff bin. So I was exposed to all of these like free supplements and free vitamins, like vegan B12, vegan K2, like pine pollen. What else? A bunch of stuff. Anyways, so at a certain point, so while I was working there, I was definitely like loading up on all these free vitamins and supplements. So for about 2 years, the 2 years that I worked there, I was taking B12, K2, vitamin D3, and I just kind of did it as an experiment because I was like, okay, I haven't been supplementing, you know, the this the entire 17, 16 years that I've been raw. So let's try it. Let's see if it does give me a boost. And honestly, I didn't really notice a big difference. And this is taking like a wide array of vitamins, vegan vitamins. And what else was there? There's something called BioSil, which is basically just like liquid silica. It's supposed to be really, really good, but it's supposed to be for your bones and your bone density and all this. I didn't really notice a big difference with that. Like, I mean, my bones are pretty strong to begin with. I mean, I wipe out in the skate park going off some pretty big stuff, and I'll
Cool.
fly off some big cliffs on my snowboard, and I
So I got
bounce.
I got one question to you before we end here is what do you say to people that say it's impossible to live on just fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds?
Try it, just try it. Give it a chance. Um, it's been an amazing part of my life. It's a gift that I've received in this life, and I never would have ever imagined that it would feel this good and and that I'd be blessed with just this clarity of mind. And it's a feeling in your heart too. It's a feeling in your aura. You know, I'm sure it brightens my auric field. And anybody who gets into this, you know, you're gonna get a huge elevation in mood. I found just my temperament, how I dealt with people, completely changed, and it changed my entire outlook on life. And to be patient with yourself too, right? You know, not everything happens overnight, and it is a big help to just to start learning raw recipes. You know, learn a few things that you're gonna like, that you're gonna enjoy, and then just kind of build from there.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it's such an inspiration for us to connect on the internet. And if anyone wants to connect with you, I'll put your internet link below the video here. I just want to thank you for reaching out and just for keeping it so mellow and just doing it. And it's very humble, and you're doing a really special thing, eating this way for a long time. And I thank you, man, for coming on and chatting with me.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right. Let me stop the recording. Hold on.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life.